Despite nationwide protests, Sri Lanka's President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has said that he will not resign and that he will only step down if he loses the majority in parliament. Sri Lanka has been in the grip of an economic crisis with foreign debt estimated at some 51 billion US dollars. It's the country's worst financial crisis since its independence in the year 1948. Citizens have been protesting against months of blackouts and acute scarcity of food, fuel and other essentials. The president has been facing fierce public protests against his government's handling of this economic crisis. He has said that he will hand over the government to any group that could muster 113 seats. But he will not step down from the country's presidency, however. The Sri Lankan government is taking emergency measures as its financial troubles grow. It has sought help from the International Monetary Fund to prevent a further worsening of this crisis. The IMF has asked Sri Lanka to restructure its foreign debt before a bailout program is finalized. The country will be provided some kind of interim relief by way of a loan amounting to anywhere between $300 million to $600 million, which will then be spent on purchasing medicines and other essential items. Sri Lanka will also receive an aid package from the World Bank over the next 4 months. However, this move has impacted discussions between Sri Lanka and China. The countries were in talks for a $1.5 billion credit line. Sri Lanka has reached out to several countries for help as the IMF bailout package will require a minimum of 6 months. Meanwhile, the citizens' plight in the worsening crisis is there for all of us to see. There are long lines around fuel service stations as people queue up for essentials such as petrol and kerosene. Hospitals have run out of life-saving medicines and there is now a severe shortage of food. Public anger over the government's mismanagement of the crisis is growing. Colombo is now banking on further bilateral help from India, China and Japan to help tide over the crisis. Sri Lanka's Finance Minister Ali Sabri has warned that the economic situation would likely deteriorate further. And for more on the political developments in Sri Lanka, our correspondent Dasuni Thoda has sent us this report from Colombo. Take a look.
Amidst a worsening economic crisis that has now developed into a political crisis as well, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today in a letter has appealed to all parliamentarians representing the government, including the parliamentarians who just decided to be independent in parliament, for a meeting that is scheduled to take place this Friday to discuss the possibility of forming an interim government. Now this is interesting because this letter specifically states that this new interim government will only be formed following the resignation of Prime Minister Rajapaksa as well as the newly appointed cabinet. The reason that this is interesting is because just yesterday, Prime Minister Rajapaksa was seen saying that he will not be resigning from his post as Prime Minister. Sri Lanka's economic crisis continues to worsen with the cost of living increasing day by day here in the country, with Litro, Sri Lanka's state-owned gas company, increasing gas prices by more than double here in the island nation. Stay with WION as we bring you the very latest of the developments here in Sri Lanka. Reporting from Colombo, I'm Dasuni Thoda.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.